What's up, everyone, and welcome into another episode of Wizards Latest. I'm your host and DC sports fan, Ben Robertson, and on this page, we break down all the biggest headlines surrounding the Washington Wizards. So, the Wizards match up with Milwaukee on opening night. Let's review a deal those two teams were a part of earlier this year. Then, I'll reveal another interesting matchup from really the first few games of the season. Then, we'll chat about Jeremiah Fears and Trey Johnson. Which guard will have the better career in the NBA? And lastly, today, I want to continue the John Wall retirement discussion. How should he be honored now that official retirement has been announced? I appreciate all of the support here on the page. You guys keep tuning in every single day. Remember, videos dropping here Monday through Friday. Thanks for tuning in and making Wizards Latest a part of your day. Let's review that Kyle Kuzma deal with Milwaukee from earlier this season. NBA, the NBA year begins, or the NBA season begins for Washington at Milwaukee on October 22nd. And of course, back in February, those squads were part of a multi-team trade, also included the Knicks and the Spurs. It brought Kyle Kuzma and Jericho Sims to Milwaukee. It brought Chris Middleton and A.J. Johnson and a future pick swap to DC. Of course, Washington accepted Middleton's contract despite it being larger just to move on from Kuzma. Also gained a future prospect in A.J. Johnson. Milwaukee thought maybe they were moving on from Middleton and gaining a key scoring option in Kuzma. Hasn't really worked out like that, though. And now, really looking back at that trade, it seems like very much a win for the Wizards, just at the based on the way Kuzma closed out the season. Kind of let's review Kyle Kuzma's situation since he got traded to DC from LA. Remember, really the first few years he was on the Wizards, he was a very solid player, one of the best players on the team. At that, signed that 4-year, $102 million contract in 2023. Even the first year of that deal, he was really good for Washington and productive, about 22 points per game, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists on 46%, 33%, and 77% shooting splits. Really, everything changed after that for Kuzma. The scoring average dipped about 7 points the next season for him. Percentages all went down. I think Milwaukee thought maybe with a change of scenery, he would find his way again and really just be a key option for them down the stretch. But the change of scenery just didn't help Kuzma. I feel like most Milwaukee fans just not satisfied by what they got out of him and his production level with his during his time with the team last year. And again, it's looking like a trade win for the Wizards. Another great move it seems like Will Dawkins has made. Of course, Middleton's contract set to expire here after this upcoming year. And really, this honestly might hinge on how you view AJ Johnson. I know a ton of the fan base, or a lot of the fan base, is really, really high on him. And so this deal brought Washington, at the very least, a prospect that you're hoping to develop and can improve with your squad here moving forward. Again, I've talked about here on the page, just excited to see AJ's growth and development. I really think just the more time he gets on the court, the better he is going to play and the more he is going to improve. Next today, I want to chat about another early season matchup that I find interesting. Remember, Washington opening the season with Milwaukee on October 22nd. Again, just about a couple months away here now at the release from the release of this video. But the 76ers are another team that caught my attention there on the early season schedule. Washington not going to have to wait long for the first of their 4 matchups with Philly starting on October 28th. Then they'll meet on December 2nd, January 7th, and then not again until April 1st. The Sixers are an interesting team. Really, last year their stars just weren't on the court quite enough. It seems like every year for them sort of hinges on Joel Embiid's health, which you really can't count on, it seems like, at this point in his career. But of course, they feature this year's number 3 overall pick in VJ Edgecombe. Philly also had interest pre-draft in Trey Johnson. And in fact, I felt like by the time of the draft, a lot of the mocks I was seeing projected Trey to go 3rd overall to the Sixers. It's again, I saw that in a bunch of mocks, and of course, they decided to go with VJ, and I'm excited to see that matchup. Not only because it's one of the players picked in front of Trey Johnson, who so many of us are so high on, but also because we're gonna get to see those guys, I think, actually matched up head to head a little bit in that game. When you think about some of the other prospects that Trey might see, he sees Cooper Flag in Dallas very early on, but I'm not sure just position wise how much those two are going to go head to head against each other. I think just both of them being guards, I think VJ and Trey are going to be matched up probably potentially a whole bunch in that game. Of course, VJ known as a great defensive prospect, and Trey, we are all expecting to turn into an elite NBA scorer. Again, I just think there is a ton of intrigue there with that game. Excited to see how those two just handle that situation. I've talked about how on the page, yeah, I like seeing, how prospects handle themselves in those high profile matchups and high profile games. I think it can be very telling. Do you speed up? Do you try to do too much? Do you let the game come to you and just play your game? Are you able to use, that aggression as a positive thing and really take things over? Again, just so much intrigue there for me. Another player I think that Trey is going to be compared to in his career is Jeremiah Fears. Remember, Fears was available for Washington with that 6th overall pick and ended up going one spot later to New Orleans. I saw that was another player I saw mocked a ton pre-draft to DC. I also maybe even more than Trey Johnson. Really, most of the mocks I saw had Trey going at the very least in the top 5. So Fears was maybe the guy I saw most often mocked to the Wizards. But I think fans really for that reason, because they were both available and both sort of considered the options coming into the draft for the team. I think fans are going to compare those players really throughout their careers, whether that is fair or not. Of course, they'll match up less, the non conference opponent, they'll match up a little bit less this year, once in January and once again in March. Slightly different positions. I think Fears is a little bit more on ball than Trey Johnson, probably prefers to be off ball just a little bit more at the guard spots, but I still think they'll probably end up being matched up together just a little bit at the very least in that game. Obviously, hoping Trey has established himself as one of the league's top rookies and top young players by that point in the season. Last thing I want to chat about today, we've really seen the John Wall discussion surrounding his retirement and how he should be honored by the team now that he has officially announced that retirement swirling. I've seen it on social media. I've talked about it here on the page over the last couple of days. I got one idea from the comment section yesterday that sort of piqued my interest. Instead of a jersey retirement, maybe a statue is the way to go with John Wall. There was been some pushback, although I've seen less of that lately in terms of whether Wall should have his jersey retired and up in the rafters. At first thought, I was like, maybe this pleases everyone. If you think the retirement is too far, it's not quite that, but he's still honored at Capital One Arena. Then I kind of thought, well, if you think jersey retirement is too far, isn't a statue even a higher honor than that, to be quite honest? I know they revealed the West Unseld bust a few years ago, but you would think he would be the first Wizard, at least, that maybe deserves a statue before Wall. So I'm not sure. Maybe that's the route to go. I really do think number 2 should be up in the rafters. I don't think another player should wear that jersey for this team moving forward, to be quite honest. I think an Alex Ovechkin statue is on the way at the arena with some redevelopment. So again, seems like maybe a guy like Wes Unseld should probably have one there first. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. Again, I appreciate all of the support here on the page. Keep tuning in. Episodes dropping Monday through Friday, breaking down everything Washington Wizards related. Like and subscribe down below. Turn on post notifications. And thanks for tuning in to another episode of Wizards Latest.